Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's Amicable Academy, which is our public education that is offered by the Amicable Divorce Network and is open to anybody who would like to attend and get more information on our topic. My name is Tracy Ann Moore Grant, and I am the founder of the Amicable Divorce Network. And we are now an international organization welcoming members from all over the United States, Canada, and beyond who are experienced. You have to have 5 years of experience, who are low conflict in their approach to family law. We offer membership for people in all disciplines that relate to family law. And we also vet members for fair billing practices. So if you're watching this and you're interested in becoming a member, you can go to www.amicableddivorcenetwork.com, and then under the professional tab there is an application for membership. So I will now turn it over to our wonderful speaker this month. We have Janet Price with us, and she is talking to us about divorce abuse, which is a really popular hot button topic right now. A lot of people are starting to talk about, become aware of, and want more information on. So this was something that we absolutely wanted to offer through our network. Janet is the CEO of JP Coaching and Consulting, Inc., and the founder of the Divorce and Thriving and Beyond. Janet is a certified divorce specialist and conscious co-parenting coach who empowers loving parents to rise above the crazy making by keeping their kids out of the middle and moving from surviving to thriving. Janet will illustrate common patterns in divorce abuse and how to identify it. She'll also explain best practices for supporting your client and tools that you can use to help your client move from intimate partner relationship to the business partner relationship when children are involved. Janet knows the dynamics of divorcing and co-parenting in a high conflict environment personally, as a child of parents involved in a high conflict divorce, and as a co-parent involved in a high conflict co-parenting relationship. She's specifically suited to talk to us about this topic. I've had many conversations with Janet. It is always insightful and such a pleasure. I am now going to turn it over to Janet to start teaching us about divorce abuse.
Thank you so much, Tracy. It's really a pleasure to be here. And before I start sharing some slides, I just wanted to say that many of the slides that I will be talking about today, actually is for a program directly to the clients. And as I was having my clients go through the program, based on my own experience in my life, as well as what I was seeing with the clients, it occurred to me that there is so much that we professionals who touch clients in the divorcing space could actually do to help bring awareness to shift the dynamics. So the presentation today is directly for professionals and how little tips of what you can do. So I'm going to share my screen, and let's see, screen one, share, and then I'm going to display settings, swap screens. Sorry, excuse me. So you should other screen. So nope, I'm going to stop sharing because I'm not showing the right screen. Excuse me. Sorry, just one moment. Okay, and here we go. Display. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. It's always a little bit of a starting. So here we go. Do you see my slide, Tracy?
Yes, 5 steps
Okay,
to
great.
prevent divorce abuse.
Okay, fabulous. And I'm going to move my little picture box. So today we'll be talking about really what is divorce abuse at a high level, and what some of the emotional stages are for, as you know, going through a divorce and your clients are experiencing, and how to pay attention to those stages to help them shift. Paying attention to how the co-parents, if you're mediating or if you're just with one, what's going on with the communication, and then actually helping them identify and moving them towards the path of creating that business relationship that Tracy mentioned. And then, of course, most of you will know, but I will bring attention to some key areas and items of when your clients may need additional support because they in of themselves might not have the tools in their toolkit in order to prevent divorce abuse. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So just real quickly, as a married couple, this is how we look. When kids come in, this is what our family starts looking like. And then when a divorce occurs, ideally, we would want that our parents and the family unit down at the bottom, you can see, create the base and the nourishing support for the children to thrive and flourish. And if you can notice, the two rings of the marriage are separate, but the children still are connected to both parents. And this is really fundamentally what divorce abuse is all about. So divorce abuse, and you'll see later as I define it, is when a child or children is not allowed to freely love and be loved by both of their parents. And that occurs sometimes very unconsciously and subtly, and other times more overtly. And so in this picture, if both parents love their children and show love to their children and allow the other parent to love their children will indeed thrive. And does not matter how many additional people are brought, they will just nourish the children. And they will just be part more of the support system. So it's key to note that children absolutely can adjust through divorce, and they can adjust and be very healthy and happy and have well-adjusted adult lives. It is how they're experiencing and how their parents manage the divorce that is the impact to them. So most of us probably in some way, and I know with the Amicable Divorce Network, we are seeking to diminish this tug of war, but many times the children feel very stuck and in a tug of war between their parents. I'm not going to go through all of these slides, like I said, but I am going to start talking here about different ways that children start getting caught in that middle or feeling that they are not allowed to love or be loved by one of their parents. So I think these two are a little more obvious, the open conflict and the negative talk. The family member support might be slightly less obvious, and this becomes when additional grandparents, aunts and uncles and all those even start showing little comments or thoughts about how spending more time with them is more important. It doesn't have to be overtly your other parent is no good anymore, but it's just anyone surrounding the children who makes them feel as though their other parent is not loved or respected starts impacting the children. The silent treatment, I think you all are familiar with, as well as the children as a messenger. Putting your children in a loyalty bond. This looks something like it can be done in lots of different ways, but this might be for those clients that tend to present in an injured, hurt victim space where they feel that the divorce was all done to them or they've been wronged. In those situations, the parent probably is not intentionally doing this, but they will message unconsciously through the way they communicate with their children, "Oh, poor me. oh, something happened. And that's where this loyalty bond comes in. And that's where the child starts feeling a pull of needing to support this parent. And that, in fact, ends up not allowing them to be their own person. And that's where the divorce abuse, very unconsciously being done, but that's one of the ways that divorce abuse shows up. Burdening your child can look similar to above, but also different when maybe loading on all your own problems, like about work. I'm so busy, I don't have time for this. It can show up in lots of different places. Or I wish your other parent would stop doing that. That's not really negative talk. It's just putting the burden of your woes or on the children. Again, lots of times that's very unconsciously done. Interrogating children. So there's a fine line between wanting to show when the children are going back and forth from homes. One is show interest and involvement in the kid's life and being happy, and subtly making your children feel like they're being interrogated and that you're trying to find out what's going on in the other house. And that's where that comes in. So how can you, as professionals, help in this space? And so no matter where you are in working with one of the clients, that's one of the parents that's going through divorce, or both potentially, in the real estate transaction world, these are things that I point out that you can be noticing and paying attention to. And whether it's your client that you're noticing is in a space that might end up showing, more of an injured, hurt space, or you hear things, or they're telling you about things that are happening from the other parent. As a professional, you do this all day long. And the thing about divorcing parents that I know is very hard for us to remember is that they've never done this before. And so they don't know what they don't know. They don't know that what's going on in their dynamic may be different and unusual compared to other divorces because they've never had it. And also, if they've been in a relationship that might not have been very healthy for some time, their intimate communication style will absolutely not be a very healthy communication style, and they will not be able to understand that that's the case, and they will not see and know that they're not functioning in the normal emotions of just regular divorce, but they have some other communication emotions in the couple dynamic, not a particular client one way or the other, but the dynamic is not in the normal healing process of divorce. And those are the clients that end up having this divorce abuse. I'm not saying it's one client or the other. I'm saying it's the couple dynamic that ends up putting the kids in the middle, consciously or unconsciously.
Janet, if you don't mind, I just wanted to highlight something that you just said because it's something you and I have talked about in the past. And for those
Yes.
watching this that are practitioners, mental health professionals, anybody who's touching a family going through the divorce process, something you highlighted for me as a professional I thought was really interesting is that when you were on the client side of things, you wish somebody had really told you your situation is abnormal compared to me being a professional, having done all these cases or having done this for all these years. Let me tell you why your case is either on the abusive scale or high conflict, or what is different, number one, about your case compared to all these other cases. And number two, what we're hoping to do is train professionals who are interested in making that better. And
Yes.
here are the resources that I can use to help you with this problem. We have so many practitioners, unfortunately, in family law who are just, doing the paperwork, going through the motions, but we're about organizing the professionals that want to provide next level. So it's sort of about identifying, having that conversation with the client and providing them the resources to move through it in a positive way. A lot of people
Absolutely.
don't take the time to say this is different.
Absolutely. And thank you, Tracy, for bringing that up. My experience in my divorce and then co-parenting and increasingly escalated co-parenting relationship for 10 years is that I know professionals knew what was going on. And it was not until the fifth time I was back in a high conflict custody 10 years later that a professional, a divorce attorney, actually said to me, you're one of those high conflict cases. That is the very first time I even heard that word. And nowhere along the line did anybody say to me, hey, your couple, and honestly, it did not have to be pointing to one side or the other. It could have said this dynamic is not normal. And that's what you see here. There's normal divorcing emotions that go on because everybody's upset. And then there's much larger, greater emotions that go on, and talking about potentially high conflict personalities. Usually people can come to an agreement, but in this case, it's sort of an all or nothing. I mean, if anybody had said that to me, I would have started Googling for sure. And I would have done, 9 years earlier, what I then finally woke up to and shifted exactly how I was working and communicating with my co-parent to then begin de-escalating. But I wasn't aware of it. So that is what's so important. And I know as professionals, it's sometimes tricky. You don't want to call it out, or the client might not listen. And so as we go through this, I'm going to be giving examples that you can do almost in a storytelling manner to show whether it's a real story that you actually observe this, or you can come up with a story that shows that you've observed this, to give them examples of what happens when. So thank you, Tracy. So like I said, fundamentally, divorce abuse is when the children are not allowed to love both parents and be loved by both parents. And then when they also feel, because remember, children have both of us in, both sides, mom and dad, are in their body. And so when they hear or feel that their other parent is not liked, or there's negative assumptions by family members, or they take it as a reflection of half of them there is unloved. So we don't really think about this, and we're not cognizant about it. But when a child feels that the parent can't just reasonably respect and honor the other parent, the child feels that part of them, half of them, is also not loved and respected. And so that's really fundamentally, when you think about divorce abuse, how you can divide it. So I'm going to go here. I think this is I created the graphic with the gears here, but fundamentally, the emotional stages of divorce are like losing a loved one. But as we all know, because the other partner is still alive, those emotional stages are a little more dependent upon the gears of the negotiation and what's going on. And so while I know when you lose a loved one, it's not as smooth as going from denial to anger to negotiation to depression and acceptance all of the time, during the divorce, it really does get like the gears of a wheel. It really does get enmeshed individually with each person. And they go through those cycles in lots of different ways. Now, as it relates to the Amicable Divorce Network and having a lower conflict divorce, this is really how you can think about it. A lower conflict divorce, an experience for the children and for moving forward and finding a business partnership, co-parenting relationship, is when both parents are allowed to freely go through their grief cycle on their own, their divorce and loss, and process through that. And the children, yes, the children do have a grief and loss of the family unit in the same way that it was. And so if all of the parties are able to go through their cycle by themselves and process through, that's when you will see the lower conflict. The higher conflict is when all the grief cycles get enmeshed, and that's when you start seeing, because one partner brings in the other partner to the grief, the other partner reacts, and then the other partner, and it just keeps escalating, and then they bring the kids in. So I thought visually this is a very good slide to help everybody understand how the emotions play so much into it, no matter what kind of personality type or what's going on. So again, here are some of the emotions that clients go through. And as a professional, here's how you can help. So by you, if you're working with just one of the clients, if you can seek to identify where your client is in that cycle and continue to move them towards the hope and acceptance, even if it's just in little tidbits as you're working with them, it may not be complete, but if you keep helping them move towards hope and acceptance, imagining the future life that they will have with their children, helping them imagine what that looks like, no matter how you're working with them, that will help them move through that cycle. So at least one of them will be moving through the divorce cycle. So we'll be a little more awake and aware. So they may not have, if the other partner's stuck, they will be more clearly seeing that it's that other person's stuff and not get engaged and sucked in. The other way you can help is if your client is already in the hope and acceptance, just sort of having an understanding and bringing awareness to your client to think about where the other party might be. And just to be aware that these divorce cycles occur, everybody needs to go through them. You will see at the end of each of these, the last checkbox at all of these points is, again, if you see your client in the hope and acceptance, and you see the other client or other party in denial, anger, rage, guilt, or anything, and that just keeps going on and on and on, point that out, that it does not appear, that that's not normal. And here's a way that you can show, I do divorce, I've been doing divorce for 10 years. I've been working with parents exclusively, or, I work with all types of individuals. However, I've observed that the parent couple dynamic where one partner moves on and the other partner doesn't, I see those cases struggle in the co-parenting relationship that go on and on and on. I mean, you could just even leave it as simple as that. And if I'm observing right now that it looks like in your couple dynamic, one of you has moved a little further on in the divorce cycle than the other. So I'd like to bring it to your attention that normally at this time, the couple would be a little further on. And if you're interested, I have tools for you. I mean, that's just one slight way. You can be a lot more overt with it to actually describe where you've seen the couples, a dynamic where one or the other or both are still stuck in the denial, rage, anger stage. You can use examples about how you have neighbors who you've watched. They were this sweet family with kids and you knew them since they were very young, and then the parents separated, and the children you ended up seeing now only every other weekend. And boy, did you see how they started shifting and changing. While they used to be an outgoing kid, they now were reclusive and not interacting and not social anymore. And they look sad and empty and void. And then you have this other neighbor and you give a happy experience of, the kids thriving. And then you go back to, when I looked at those two couples, I realized that the couple with the kids who were not as social and not engaged and removed, those parents seemed to be stuck and continuing to war in the co-parenting, could not find any way to communicate. And this is where, if you can't work on moving through the cycles, this might be where I would see your couple dynamic going. I mean, that's very overt, and many people are not comfortable doing that, but there's a range within there. And then another place for you as professionals to help is, I'd like for you to start realizing and thinking about, you as a professional have developed a business relationship with your client, whether it's both or just one. And so from that, you have a unique opportunity to actually help work with them and model what it looks like to have a healthy business relationship communication, and help them in practicing, possibly, if you would like to take it that far, their communication with you, on how they can shift their communication with the other parent. And the first place that you can do that is in helping them disengage. So when they're working with you and they quite possibly got an email from the other parent and they are so emotional or are feeling charged up by the email, help them to reflect and see it as, is there anything about the children? Is there really thing? And use that as the first point to helping them disengage from the manner in which they communicate, because all of that is ways that the emotion gets sucked back in and that gear begins to get enmeshed. The other way that you can help them is when they start, if they're in sort of the sadness, is again to help move them towards the hope and acceptance, and to help them remember those positive, beautiful memories. They fell in love, they had beautiful children together. There are beautiful moments of joy, and help them find those and help them think about, there's a lot of wonderful, good things about the other parent. I know you might not like all the things, but that's good news. You don't have to be with them anymore, but your child gets to experience all these wonderful, positive things that you found about them in the past. And so if you help them do that, that also helps them move through the cycle. And then the last piece is something that I believe, again, as your business relationship, is really useful here. If your client comes in with rage and anger, or is using you, which I know it happens all the time, and is getting very frustrated and loud with you and is showing frustration, helping tone them down by basically just pausing and then turning it around and saying something like, boy, it seems like you're very frustrated and angry right now. And that's okay, I get it, and I'm here for you to help and support you. But I just wanted to pause for a minute and let you know that, let's think about, with me, it's a safe environment, so it's okay that you're coming and you're frustrated and you're angry and you're loud, and I'm okay and I understand it. But imagine how somebody else might hear that. Imagine if you were expressing this to somebody in the coffee shop. Do you think that would have gone over well? Now imagine your other parent who it's already emotions high. How might you say your frustration in a different way so that your other parent might actually hear your frustration versus the rage and emotion behind it? And these are really good tools that you, in whatever, because most of us working in this field with these clients are going to get, the frustrated call, the screaming call, or the venting, really not to us all the time, but it still is the venting. And those are the opportunities we have to help them shift. And so I began to move into that, but beyond finding those opportunities within the emotion of your clients or what you're observing about the dynamic, if you're with both of them, then you get to the 3 channels that we in general mainly communicate with. And here, as your relationship as a business professional, and having a business relationship with these clients, you have the unique opportunity here to, if they so choose, to actually help them practice all 3 of these things with you in a safer environment, or even just bring it up to their attention and recommend that they practice with their friend or they practice with somebody else. So these 3 channels of communication are the main. There's lots of other ones, but tone of voice, body language, and words. And, actually, no matter me divorcing or me in any kind of relationship, my tone of voice, I've been told many times, I don't have a problem booming. And so I focus on this a lot, all of the time. And my body language many times, actually. So outside of my co-parenting relationship, which I'm certain all 3 of these things had something to do with it, I, in my professional world, working in corporate America for years and years and in business consulting, focused a lot because I observed how people heard how I was communicating based on the manner of all these things. So the keys for tone of voice is if you start noticing that your client, and it can be both sides, it can be somebody who comes off strong, sharp, direct, and you're observing the other client is a little meeker, timid, and you can see sort of a moving back. Or it can be your client is the one that's not standing up for their own emotions and thoughts, not confident enough. Both sides, if you were to have them think about where they want to be in the future, again, this is talking about the hope. So what is your outcome for your children that you would like to have your children feel about your co-parenting relationship in 5 years from now? What is that communication dynamic? And then you start today helping them talk about, well, geez, when you just communicated that to me, that I would not, since you defined that in the future, this is what you wanted, I would not feel that tone that you just delivered that message to me would resonate with me for that dynamic you desire to have. So let's think about how we might share that same emotion in a different way to get your future dynamic that you desire. So helping them set up that right from the beginning and defining that new relationship as you begin working with them, helping imagine the future, successful, positive communication. And maybe it's not very much communication, whatever they want. If they say, I want to basically not really have to communicate with the other parent. I want to have my time with, my children. And then I'm happy to have the other parent do whatever they want. And that's the kind of relationship, then great. Help them imagine what that looks like and help reflect back to them any email, tone of voice, body language that they are doing now that doesn't support having no communication with their vision. And so this, depending on how much time you spend with your client and what you're interested in doing, once they've defined the new relationship, you can give them ideas of what you just heard from them and how that hears to your ears as a business relationship. And so how that might sound to somebody who's uncoupling in the marriage. And then you can help them brainstorm and practice. Again, if they're doing a great job and you notice that the other parent is really continuing to sort of stir the pot, it's okay to bring it up and say, I see that you're doing a really great job of keeping your tone, and I see that you're struggling a little bit because there's a lot of emotions going on. Let me tell you, the majority of divorces, this emotion tones down in a year or two. In this case, if it doesn't, I would suggest you start looking at more tools to support you, because I might say that this couple dynamic is going to go down the path of continuing this way. So look into getting more tools to support you for a high conflict personality type. Or if it's your client who is the one that you're identifying that's really continuing to suck into the energy and pull the other co-parent back into the conversation, that's where hope and acceptance and letting go, talking to them about moving forward and helping them imagine their future life that has nothing to do with their co-parent that they are uncoupling with, help them put it there and help them have tools that focus in the future and stop on the end. And then you can talk about the emotions and how you can see those emotions destroying the children. Maybe that's not something that they focus on. So then you learning what drives them and their motivation. And if it's money, then talk to them about how money, if they continue down this, they will be spending loads and loads and loads of money of more support, because their co-parenting dynamic will continue to require additional support. So there's ways that you can help all clients, even the high conflict clients, walk through and help them emotionally move through this. Body language, we all know that we share lots of body language. The defensive, counterattack, and withdrawal tends to be what we are dealing with at the beginning of a divorce. And what we can do about it is help, again, in our business relationship with our clients, help them, once they've identified the future vision of how they want to have that relationship, help them model it in their body language with confidence as they're speaking with you, active listening, and child-centered. And just help them continue to message the same message, but in a way that comes off confident and secure. In other words, you might be able, as the professional, might be able to deliver in the same words with the same tone, but different body language to the other parent, a message that the other parent would hear, yet your client is not. And it might have a ton to do with the body language. So paying attention to that. And then, of course, words are super, super powerful. And so helping stay away from all the negative criticizing, you, always, always, always statements, and moving towards, I'm sure everybody knows about Bill Eddy's high conflict personality and all his books called BIF, and then for co-parenting and high conflict in business. BIF stands for brief, informative, friendly, and firm. And that is something you can absolutely start educating and communicating with your individual. If you're working one-on-one with one of your clients, these are useful no matter the type of co-parenting relationship, helping them see that their communication as they uncouple related to their children really, really should stay only about their children. It has nothing to do with the emotions of their life. It stays focused on the children. You keep it business focused moving forward. And it's okay. They don't need to respond to every single message. If it's not a question, if there's not something you need back, you don't have to respond. It's okay. And helping them know that, particularly by people that are supporting them, who have the sense of the authority, this is very useful, because clients tend to feel, oh my gosh, if I don't respond to every email, if I'm on Our Family Wizard or another one of the apps, and if I don't respond, what is the judge going to say? How is that going to look? And then it becomes this cycle of emotional back and forth that never gets anywhere, and it's never about the children. And then in the end, it ends up looking like two very highly charged emotional parents that have not healed. So helping them now think about this and giving them some of these tools can be very, very useful in helping them shift the way they show up and communicate with the other parent. So now I want to talk about this business relationship, and I've been mentioning it a ton about your relationship with the client and how it is a business relationship, and what an easy way to show them, to just point out that when they uncouple their marriage, the family unit is always the family, and to their children, the family can never be severed or divorced. And so they can't sell a part of their business share, and they certainly can't buy a part of their business share. And helping them see it, if this is the one piece of information that your clients and that can digest and understand, if they can see this new relationship, their co-parenting roles as a business relationship, it will resonate, because most people check in and out of a business. They go 9 to 5. They may have a crazy boss or crazy peers, and they may get emails all weekend long, but they somehow in their brain know how to manage that they don't answer emails during the weekend. And they understand, I'm getting paid for 9 to 5. I mean, many people don't, but just in the simple, I'm getting paid for 9 to 5. So it's okay. I'm going to put my time in between 9 and 5. I won't answer emails outside of those times. And they can look at emails, even if somebody else is sending an emotional email in the workplace, they have a lens of, wow, that's their stuff. That's not me. I don't need to respond to it. So just helping your client shift and think about this new relationship as a business relationship will be extremely useful. And the last thing about this, and then I'll talk something of the keys to help support the business relationship, is at the beginning, they fell in love and came together as a couple because they honored and loved each other. They've developed a communication style, healthy or unhealthy, that became their intimate communication style. And co-parents tend to get stuck, even though there's no intimacy going on. They tend to get stuck in communicating after the relationship and the uncoupling has happened in that intimate communication style that was developed over the years that they were together. That is usually the problem, particularly when new people come in to the relationships. That intimate communication style actually ends up being forms of a little bit of jealousy and insecurity for the new people. So by helping your clients see that they are no longer in an intimate relationship, including the way they communicate, and that they need to see it in a business relationship where there is a dedication to a common goal, being the children, that they both want their children. They may not agree about how, but at the end, they will and can agree that they both want the best for their children to be healthy, successful adults.
Janet, just heads up, we have about 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Thank you.
I just want to leave a little time for some Q&A.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'll just go through there. So this is the areas that you can help remind them. And now the next tip, and we all know this as we work with our clients, that there are key steps to going through a negotiation. And so if you're working with both clients and you see that the clients are unable to walk through these steps while you're working with them, then there's how you can also help. You can help by potentially helping them pick a very small problem and trying to negotiate to test to see if they can do it. And if they can't, that's where maybe you might recognize that they need more support within their documents and more people around them, so that they don't have to walk through these steps of negotiating as they walk through their co-parenting relationship for potentially the next 18, 20 years. And lastly is to help your clients for every decision that they are going to be making, not for them to think what would their kids want, but once they are thinking about the decision, help them reflect. I think this is the best decision for my kids. Now, how is this going to land? How does this feel for my children? And what is that impact going to have to them? Just constantly helping them think that way will help them stay child focused. So, these are the ways that more really implicitly, if you see any of these items that when you're going on or some of these items come up with you, I can say that these your clients will definitely, one or the other side will definitely need more support around them. They probably will not be able to wake up to many of these things, and they will need additional help in order to help them prevent divorce abuse for their children. So there, I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we often have a joke, I guess I would say, as sort of practitioners, that the LSAT, the exam you take to get into law school, is nothing to do with law school. And what you learn in law school is really nothing to do with being an attorney. And so I feel like if people are wanting to handle particularly family law cases, there should be an entirely different training on how to deal with, these types of issues. If you're going to be dealing with people's families, their children, you really need to take it seriously and be able to identify these issues and take it to, the next level to really help them, to have all these tools in your toolbox. So this is, just absolutely the kind of content and training we want our members to have at Amicable Divorce Network, that you're really jumping in and helping families. Absolutely appreciate this. And I think all the slides were great. You may have seen me. I had my camera up a couple times to take a couple pictures. I might send you a request to send me those slides, because I think it'd be really helpful. And I'm definitely going to be putting this for our members. You'll be able to find this on our resource page, which is your member login, where we have different resources. We'll also be posting this on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to find it on our blog on amicableddivorcenetwork.com, as well as DivorceAmicably.com, which is our website that is launching on March 21st. That will be promoting amicable divorce for the public. So right now, Amicable Divorce Network does a lot of professional training, and we're going to have both concepts for the public and for the professionals. Janet, I appreciate it. Richard, do you have any questions before we conclude? You can shake yes or no if you want to jump in with anything. No, he doesn't. You answered it all. So I'm going to stop the recording. Everybody's welcome to stick around for a couple of moments. So thank you, everybody, for coming today. And also, if you're watching this later on our channel, you can always reach out to Janet. Her information is with the presentation. If you have more questions about this, she is always available. Janet Price, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy, very much.